Hi. So this is a meeting of the Town of South Kingstown Sustainability Committee. It's September 15th, and we're beginning at 6:02 p.m. Call of members.
Does it have to be green? These don't have any notes on them.
Just push the button on the right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Elizabeth Hoy?
Yes.
Kim Falcone. Gail Meisner.
Christine Mueller.
Others?
Charlotte Canner, Recycling Coordinator.
I'm Matthew Bradywood. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission, just visiting this evening.
I'm Patty Alley from the Town Council, and I'm visiting here tonight on behalf of Soa Seed South County.
Great, thanks. So, minutes? Anybody want to move passage of last month's minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Does everything we say have to go?
Yes.
Yes.
I move. I second it.
Okay. Any comments? I have one correction, which is in the others attending on the front page,
Oh, yeah.
the Y in Bradywood. But that's all I have.
Oh, I
appreciate you looking
Bradwood, okay. Okay.
Any other corrections or comments? All approve? Aye. Oh, any opposed or abstentions? No. Okay. Correspondence and public comments?
None.
Okay, none. Okay, so let's start with the Concom merger discussion. Matt?
Yep. Thank you guys for having me again. I'm going to try to keep this short. I know I kind of rambled last meeting, and we touched on a bunch of different ideas that might go into this merger between the SUSCOM and the CONCOM. I took that same spiel to the Conservation Commission. So if you recall, some of the ideas that relating to that merger hadn't been fleshed out until between the last CONCOM meeting and your SUSCOM meeting that I attended. So I hadn't gotten to discuss some of those things with all of the CONCOM members. Since then, there are only 4 remaining CONCOM members at the moment, but since then, I have given that same speech discussion at our Conservation Commission meeting, and so all the members are been brought up to speed and are on board with the idea of merging the 2 committees. So the only thing that I'm bringing tonight, I apologize, I'm going to be looking at my phone a bunch, but I think the main thing in merging the 2 committees would be to outline in the mission statement how we would be changing the 2 or combining the 2. So what elements do we want to bring from the existing CONCOM mission and the existing SUSCOM mission, and have that be gospel. So this is just an idea. This is just a possibility for how it could read. I think that there's a lot of value in keeping it kind of vague. I noticed that the SUSCOM's mission has a little more specificity to it than the CONCOM's does. I think that, especially if we're trying to make sort of a broad environmental committee in the town, just touching on headings instead of going into great detail is probably better, and it probably leaves more freedom to address any topics that come across the desk. I think both committees have operated that way anyway, regardless of what their missions strictly said. But this is just an example of something I drew up, and I'm very interested if anyone wants to tweak this over the coming weeks. This is just sort of me hopping between the the two meetings, the Concom and the SUSCOM. So we're trying to make it as like concise as possible, but things just move slowly when committees only meet once a month. So I don't know if it helps to, anyone with a computer could call up the existing SUSCOM or CONCOM missions. Would it help for me to read the separate ones as they're written, or just jump to them? Okay. So again, this is just an outline, just a possibility, but I wrote the South Kingstown Conservation Commission serves as an advisory body to both the Planning Board and Town Council on environmental matters relating to conservation, sustainability, and natural resources. The Conservation Commission also serves as the Town Tree Board, performing the duties outlined in Section 18.5-14 of the South Kingstown Code of Ordinances. That section in the town ordinance relates to what is required of a tree board. It defines tree board and tree warden and outlines the duties of the tree warden and how the tree board serves as an advisor at times to the tree warden and as a board for the public to come to if the tree warden has levied some kind of judgment against a tree that straddles the public right of way and private property. So I don't think it's necessary this mission could be extremely long if we went into all the details of the tree board. Also, the existing Conservation Commission mission pulls a lot of language from the law that was passed in 1960 that I mentioned last time on a state level that outlines what a Conservation Commission can do in a town. I don't know if it's necessary to bring all of that along. I'm imagining maybe a scenario where there's a shorter mission on the website, and if people want to read more, there could be like a history section or something that goes into greater detail, but isn't the headline, but for anyone who wants more information about the state level law or the history of the CONCOM and the SUSCOM, there could be something talking about how the two existed separately and then were merged together in 2025, if we go through with that. So I was thinking going forward, I would email all the members of the SUSCOM and the CONCOM this draft that I have, and people could just tweak it from there if they see fit. And it'd be nice to get on the town council's agenda and discuss some of these things. It's great we have a representative here tonight. I don't know if this is a shocking new conversation that, or something that you've heard about.
I haven't heard about it, but I don't find it shocking.
Great. That's a good
Not
thing.
in comparison.
Sure. So we had just been, these two separate committees had just been discussing the possibility of merging into one. And it seemed to me, as the chair of the CONCOM over the past couple years, that a lot of the topics discussed in the separate committees could have gone to either. And I think there's a lot of good minds on the SUSCOM right now, and good experience, and the idea of just merging the two together and sort of picking and choosing what we like about each of them.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And also it would be less of a burden probably on the staff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm
The
not-
town staff, you're saying?
Right, yeah, the town staff. So I think it sounds like really, especially given that I'm already here, so.
Sure, yeah.
I'm already like on board with the mission.
So I think our plan, we had discussed this at our last CONCOM meeting, was to get on a town council agenda and go before them. And I don't know if that would be the last presentation we would give, but I don't know if we could wrap it all up in a single meeting, but at least just introduce the idea and then maybe plan to circle back, take notes, and then hopefully get on the following month's agenda and just kind of solidify that transition. But
Yeah, we would just need to consult with the town attorney to see how it's done, because everything is very formalized, so it makes sense, and I feel like the rest of the council would also
Yeah.
see the importance, because it all around sounds like a win-win.
yeah, I don't see too many drawbacks, but again, like, I'm not trying to push this thing forward if there are reasons not to, so.
So I just want to let you know that I did speak to the town manager's office about this,
Yeah.
we talked about last meeting. And they are devising a plan where we can take all of the smaller committees, take several members from each committee, make one large 8, 9, 10 members of a committee to work on projects as directed by the town council. Because we're seeing that, like us, the SUSCOM, right? We talk about composting for months and we don't get anywhere with it. Or we talk about water quality or water sustainability, and we just don't get anywhere because we don't have any, not to say we don't have any pull, but, you know, we don't have a lot of bang for our buck as far as sustainability. So they are looking at putting together one large committee made up of, you know, bike ped, Concom, sustainability, and as the council directs to work on projects, then a staff person will be assigned to that committee to work on that project for however long it takes to get the project done. Then you come up with another project, we'll bring in another expert. Say if we worked on composting and recycling, it could be Charlotte. So, you know, or
Instead of current committee structure?
yes. Yes, but it's in the works, so I would continue doing what you're doing, and when it gets to the town manager level or town council level, then they can either, you know, decide where to go from there.
Yeah.
But that's what the plan is now.
Definitely curious to learn more about that process.
Okay.
So, Mark, this will be of interest when we talk about our meeting with the historic preservation. So this super committee would incorporate all of the town committees?
Yes,
Yeah.
2 members or 3 members. No, I don't think there's that many, but
There's
there
a lot.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just want to pare them down some because there's just a lot of meetings and we sit around and talk and
Yeah.
nothing really. I mean, I think the Sustainability Committee does a lot when having your yearly forums and you bring people in but I mean, so they want to be more effective.
Sure.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of that idea. I'm not sure if I would support distilling all of those committees down into a single one. If it's not 20 separate committees, it would at a minimum be, if it's 2 from each committee, it would be a 20-plus
I'm
person
just
group.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, that could be hard to get any progress as well, just with that many voices and opinions at once. But who knows? We'll see where that goes. I agree with you that I would recommend still, if we like this idea, I would recommend still going ahead with it. Because I don't know how fast that will coalesce, but.
Okay.
So, Matt, would you send that around to everyone?
Yes.
And then, how about we have 2 people from your committee and 2 people from our committee
Sure.
be designated to receive comments, or everybody can get comments, and then after a couple, you know, in a week, say, if you send it around tomorrow and everybody has 10 days to get comments, and then we set up a meeting for a couple of us and a couple of you to just sit down and kind of come up with a proposal.
Sure. I'm not sure if I know if you have more than 4 members, or if you have a quorum,
And
then
2
you
of
have to
us.
announce it, but 2 and 2 is okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Technically, legally. So who would like to do that? Yeah?
I know what I'm volunteering for, I just walked in.
So we're looking for a couple people. Matt has drafted this is what the merged committee charter would be, and is going to send that around to all of us, and then everybody can comment, and then 2 and 2 sit down and hammer out comments and come up with something that is a consensus of everybody. You're good at that, I know. All right, you're good at that, good. Who else? I'll do it if people can't, but, okay.
But if you want
No,
to
no,
with
no,
the chair.
no, no,
by all
I've got a couple other things to do.
means. I feel like I haven't volunteered for
Okay, so Janine and Elizabeth. Oh, yes, and when we talk, we have to use a mic. All right.
Before we move on, can you say something?
Sure.
This one?
Yep.
The right one? Okay. I think it makes a lot of sense to merge these two committees, and I also think it makes a lot of sense to have a plan that makes committees more effective. I think this is excellent. The question is how to do this best, and what is our overall goal? Like when you look at sustainability, we are not only looking at environmental problems that we have right now. Like we are concerned about the landfill filling up, for example. But that's relative near future. But there are other things that we don't really often think about. When we step back, and look at the whole development of the environment, the destruction, the degradation, the pollution, climate change will make food security a big issue in the future. And already now, people are suffering from higher food prices because of climate change. It's just hard for people to connect the dots. It's not only because of climate change, it's a very complex issue. Pollution is a very complex issue. We talked a little bit about water pollution. But there are many things that we are not conscious of what the future will bring. And I think it's really important to have a committee that really focuses on that and not just on immediate needs. Immediate needs are important. And sustainability, of course, does include social and economic sustainability. People need to have a home that is affordable, And social cohesion is really important. How can we, under difficult circumstances, and things will get more difficult in the near future, in the next decades. No matter the politics, this is not a political statement. That's just the way it is. So how can we nurture social cohesion? How can we protect the natural environment we still have? How can we restore some? How can we make sure people have enough to eat, that we have enough energy in the future? So these are things I think that we need to make sure that there is a space to discuss these issues.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And that brings me to the question I was going to pose, which is, usually we have a presentation to the town council in October. Is that going to happen this year, next month, as in next month?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, could you let us know as soon as you know? And then hopefully it could be after, or we could change our meeting date to have it be before so that we can put something together. But we need to prepare for that, obviously, if we're going to do it. Okay, all right, so Sow a Seed South County. Gail, are you starting with that, or Patty?
I think it's Patty's presentation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
certainly appreciate your feedback and, keeping me, on the right path here. But so Sow a Seed South County, and it sort of addresses some of the things that you were talking about with food insecurity. So basically, it is born out of that very concern for taking care of our community and making sure that no matter what happens, that nobody goes hungry. And so we had this garden that was put in a number of years at Wakefield Elementary that was sitting idle. And so I just put out a call on social media for people that know how to garden, because I myself do not, and I'm poorly suited for it because for my back and all kinds of other reasons. But we developed this awesome group of core volunteers, and it really has become a nonpartisan project with a very diverse group of people from all kinds of communities that are involved with this project. And so we all met last week. So we usually just pass in the night. We have a great volunteer coordinator who set up a schedule for us. So we have a watering schedule, and then he gave us small chores. So my chore was to weed the carrots, which was within my capability. But it's really been a great source of hope and a feeling of community, because it's right there. People walk by, they're excited to see something happening. We're not growing tremendous amounts of food, but what we are doing is building community and getting people away from their screens. And we are donating some food and increasing choice and stuff for the people at Johnny Cake. So we met to discuss what we would like to do next year. And so part of what we would like to do is to work with the Sustainability Committee and really sort of go hand in hand. We are an independent nonprofit organization, so it's really unrelated to my role on the council, although of course it is related because everything is, but I don't want I don't want us to be reliant on the town for funding. So one of the things that we were talking about was charging or asking the Sustainability Committee to help us to identify other parcels of land where we might do another garden next year. So, I'm not really sure what you guys might come back with, but we have, the land trust. We have awesome farmland here in South County, in South Kingstown specifically. It's called Sow a Seed South County because one day I would love to expand this into other parts of South County. And also I really like the acronym SASSC, SASSY. So I dream of having like an attitudinal carrot or something as our logo. And so there's that. And then also, I'm not really sure. I was very interested in what you said about trees. Because on the other side of our fence, there is a black locust tree, which is considered an invasive species from what I am told. And it like shades the right-hand part of the garden to where the carrots, which I have so wonderfully weeded, have not really produced much.
And animated.
Right, and they're not at all animated at this point. So we're hoping that that we could get the tree limbed, and I'm not really sure how to do that. And I know that I'm going to have to navigate getting permission again for this site because it is one of our town properties that are being discussed for development. However, I don't see that happening next year. I think that what's going to happen is, and I personally, well, I shouldn't say this anyway, but, and I'm not gonna, because I've learned things. But I forgot now what I was saying.
What you were gonna say.
What? I forgot what I wasn't gonna, yeah. So right. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get permission to use this site again next year. I think that it's reasonable. I do have to talk to the town manager and see what he, I mean, and the council, I will need to get approval from my fellow council members, but I think that I'll be able to do that. And I think that it was the feeling of the committee that this site in town is like super valuable in terms of generating community interest and positive vibes and, you know, just all sorts of good things. So even though it's not going to ever produce like a huge amount of stuff, if we like took out the beds and, you know, put, you know, some material, fresh soil and mulch and kind of put it to bed for the winter, that it would be in good shape for us to grow next season as well. And so hopefully you guys will find another site for us, and then we can, like right now we're working on our business plan, and I'm not gonna, I can send you this. It's basically what I just said. And also, somebody said it's going to get much worse. So I agree with you, and I feel that this is the time that we need to build resilience, self-reliance, and an ability to bootstrap. These are going to be difficult days, but we have so much. Terry, you can come sit up here. We have so much to offer here in South Kingstown that I think that we will be able to emerge stronger, and we'll be able to foster the bonds of community that we need. And then once we know this, we can start raising money and sort of figure out another thing that I would like to do, although this is not going to be, or maybe it could be next year, because you were talking about we might be able to give like small grants to like different people that have land that would like to do it, or maybe like an organization, like a group home, something like that. Give them a grant and then provide them with some oversight. And we have like great people that know a lot about gardening. Maybe we could raise enough money to like give them a stipend to go around and be like the gardening coach. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that we could do. So, and also the compost, right? Like it's, yeah, like it really, we have a compost barrel. So let me allow somebody else to talk, Gail or Terry, or if anybody has any questions.
I have ideas.
Ooh, good.
So, Patty, we've never met. I'm going to give you my contact info. So,
Okay.
I was the PTO president. I put in garden at Kingstown.
Oh, that's so
I did all the
awesome.
grants and did other things and
Oh my gosh.
1,000 man hours of labor there and did that. So, I have lots of background info
Oops, sorry.
if you want it.
Yeah.
But also the other thing that would be amazing if you have like this dedicated, awesome group of volunteers is, I can't speak to West Kingston, but Peasteel and Matunic Elementary. So now I'm the PTO president at Matunic Elementary School. So I'm wearing multiple hats here. But one of the issues that all of your elementary schools have, and I'm guessing probably the high school and Broad Rock too, is maintaining their school gardens over the summer, because as you can imagine, a bunch of parents who work and now have elementary or middle school aged kids are really busy over the summer. And they can't get there in like the height of the summer to like maintain these gardens, and so we're kind of letting them go dormant over like the best part of the growing season and kind of doing like, we're doing summer fall crops and nothing over the summer. So again, they're all small because they're community, school gardens, but it would be really amazing if you had this group of people. Plus, I think it's always good to kind of get people who aren't otherwise associated with the schools into the school or school adjacent so they can see that there's really cool stuff going on. Like, I feel like there's a huge gap between people understanding what's happening in the school. Like, those of us who are in the schools know what's going on, and those that are just paying taxes and don't have like a direct school connection,
really
right?
Awesome idea.
So we could like both build community by doing that and make a really awesome thing that we could donate more, food to Johnny Cake, but also like get these kids would come back to like an awesome garden that's been used and they could see that.
I think that's such a good idea and very
you do that?
doable. We could.
They all have water. They
And
have
it
backpacks.
fosters the community and the resilience and all of that. I love that.
So you've got my contact info now, so we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think we can.
Just wondering if there's like summer camps that could be like brought to the garden for a little day of gardening.
It's super tricky because it's like a school property, and then the summer camps are run by the town, and for whatever reason, the school sites are not used over the summer by the town camps.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I just know what it is. I don't know why it is.
Liability.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
Sorry. Thank you. Do you want more ideas for other locations now? I mean, that is one, but also just working with the schools is not, because I'm thinking accessibility is like always on top of my mind. So for folks who can't drive to go to gardens, so the walkability of Wakefield School is, that's great. And then thinking of the subsidized housing areas.
They do have, like, Champaign Heights, they have a real, there actually is, there's.
All right, all right, we'll reboot it.
It's good, no, you're good.
So there's a woman, there's actually like there are several gardening groups. And so there's this woman, Charlene Trainum, that works with the Boys and Girls Club. And so she does sort of a summer camp thing and has put in a good-sized garden at Champaign Heights. So, and I know, but like, I'm even thinking like Peacedale House, like, I think we could, an accessibility, like, we could raise the funds for like at Peacedale House where we could get elevated gardening, so that people that have mobility issues, that would be so awesome for somebody that loved to garden and then they moved into elder housing. They would be able to still, and that produce can go to the people that are growing it. Like, even though we have an awesome place, Johnny Cake Center, not everybody goes there, and there are people that would love a fresh tomato in the middle of summer, So
Yeah, I agree, and I love this. And so I'm thinking about places that you just named, maybe even near, I don't know if it's at all possible to do it near the hospital, near elder care centers. That's how I'm thinking. And then just not to get too far off on a tangent, but just last week I went to this documentary called Join or Die, and it's about how yeah, it was really interesting. It's about how there's been this like decrease over the last decades for Americans to be involved in clubs and associations even like dinner parties, like my parents always had dinner parties, and we've never, like, I think I went to one dinner party in my life. And so it just brings up like the community aspect of this does have like far-reaching benefits beyond the produce, which is important enough, but just for the whole community to be connected to each other. And so I would just ask that you're constantly thinking about folks who would have the hardest time getting to those spaces, like bringing it to them.
One suggestion that I heard was like Tuckertown Park, because all the kids are there and the families, you know. So there's so much work to taking care of it. So I just want to make sure that we don't grow too fast, and that's why, because I've always been like an entrepreneur and had different businesses, and I know that it's really important to not grow too fast and really have a good roadmap. But we can look out for years. I'm super excited.
So it sounds like the existing elementary school areas that have plots that aren't fully utilized would be the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, sorry.
That's what I think of all the time.
And then for next year, and then could go further than that, even just to establish contacts with like the person at Champaign Heights who does a garden, and, you know, the local garden clubs that mostly do flowers, but, you know, might be interested in food things as well, and see how it organically kind of grows from there.
And URI too, because we have all, like, these were excellent points that people brought up. We have the sustainability, there's like the Master Gardener program, there's the reducing food waste, and they all need hours. So, and we need volunteers.
And there's also a lot of food scarcity on URI campus, as everywhere else, so that's a good place to start too.
Yeah. That's great. That sounds like a lot of good ideas. Cool.
So can you guys help me find a nice plot of land? Can you guys like talk to the or Mark or?
Well, I was just going to say, Councilor Alley, I don't know if you met Charlotte Candery. She's our recycling coordinator. Yes.
I came to this meeting to meet you.
Yes.
I've heard awesome things about you, actually, and you have been on my radar of somebody that I desperately want to like bring into this and make it all just. We're never going to be. Here's the thing. There's so many problems in this country, but we're not. What we can do is here in our own community, and actually, that's what I'm. Obviously, very interested in politics, and trying to balance everything or to assign my priorities is difficult. Or actually, it's not difficult at all anymore because. Someone told me that there's like 330 million people to worry about the country, but there's like the 5 of us that sit there, and then there's all of you to think about and care for South Kingstown. So I think that is the best way that we can really spend our time now in these days of our discontent, or whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah, so I don't know if Charlotte, now is a good time, you could fill Councilor Alley in on what you're doing at the Broad Rock School with the composting, or and then you can follow that up with Elizabeth about the garden in the summertime, if that's something that's, it's in the works, right? It's the garden's there, people are working on it.
At Matunik?
No, Broad Rock.
Well, that's a community garden.
Oh, it is a community, okay.
That's like a paid member.
Also, I have no pull with the school committee.
Okay.
It's just on a very real basis. Like, now the school actually got transferred into the town's possession shortly after, the gardening. That kind of like was a catalyst, but I'm not sure if they would allow us to go in there, but we could check.
So what I've been, you've all heard this many times, so sorry, I'll make it quick, but my goal is, I would like to set up a community compost site, so that would be neighborhood scale, small to medium scale compost site in town, because I know that composting is very important to people in South Kingstown, and we are not going to have an earth care farm here or a large scale facility. So in addition to backyard composting and encouraging that, I'm trying to set up something that's for more community. People who are unable to compost in their backyard, who don't want to compost in their backyard, but still want to divert their food scraps from the landfill. I have a background in helping with community compost sites in California. Right now, I'm kind of looking at Broad Rock community garden, the community garden at Broad Rock's middle school. It is separate from the middle school. That place was picked, that site was picked only because, people thought garden and, is garden, so compost, and it makes sense. There is a little spot there. They're not really utilizing the compost facility or the compost space. So it's a good way to at least introduce the idea, tie it into the garden. Yes. Yeah, people pay membership to get in there. Yeah, it's locked too, and you have to be able to get in. Yeah. Is it closed? Yes. I mean, the compost isn't. Is the membership closed? Oh, what is it? What do you mean?
The people that are in there are in there.
The way that it was working 4 or 5 years ago when I looked into it, when I was doing the Wakefield Gardens, was that the people that have a plot, I think, have the ability, they get kind of first pick, and if they want it the next year again, they pay whatever the dues are, and they get it. And then any spots that open up, I believe there's a waiting list.
Yeah.
That was how it worked 5 years ago, and I'm pretty sure it's been that since day one.
Yeah.
So it's a community garden, but everybody has their own plot, so it's
Yes.
really, okay.
That's how many community, that is the typical model, yeah.
I mean, the goal of it is not to provide food for the community, it's to provide a place to farm for people who don't have the space in their own yard.
Yeah.
Or, to have a garden who don't have the space in their own yard.
So I have made a plan for that space, just based on what the amount of space that's there. I've talked to the community garden steward named David, and he was fine with it. But he admits that he says, you're the town, do whatever you want. I have no pull, but, so I don't know how much pull I have, but he was fine with it. And I did email the principal of the school because I am sensitive to it being on school property and, bringing in, potentially more volunteers or more people to the site is a concern. She said she doesn't care, and which was kind of surprising to me. So maybe she doesn't fully understand what I'm proposing, or maybe she doesn't care. So right now it's kind of go ahead, but also we don't really have any money. So I'm working with the director of public services to maybe start small and just kind of go for it. So I'm working on the budgeting part right now. That being said, I am not married to that plot. That is not the necessary, we don't have to use that spot. I'm open to other spaces, and any garden that does pop up should have a compost site, I will just say that.
Well, I will, do you know about the Garden of Hope, which is it's actually right behind the town garage here in the parking lot. So if you go up the stairs, it's this piece of property that originally belonged to St. Francis, but they ended up donating it to the town, and then somehow they forgot, or we forgot, I don't really know what happened, but 2 very lovely raised bed gardens with, all the fencing over it were put in Yeah. So they were put in a few years ago, and then we were like, hey, that's our property. And so by that point, the garden was planted, and they have a robust dining program. And in fact, they raised $450,000 to put in a full commercial kitchen there. And they're doing a model like John Bon Jovi does in New Jersey, where he has this restaurant where people pay it forward. So it's a really awesome thing. So they're doing that, but they have an awesome garden up there. And so we give it to them for $1 a year. But there's like plenty of space up there that could be used for composting. And that would be, they're producing a lot of meals. They're serving like 500 people a week. Oh, it's the church. Yeah.
But how big? Do you have any sense of?
It's like,
It's right next to Father Green and Hall. Brown. Yeah.
it's like a postage stamp size property, but I say that each of the raised beds is there's 2 of them, about as wide as this, and maybe, almost, or maybe like here. And they're prolific.
If it's not too dark after this meeting, if anyone who wanted to could walk just diagonally across the
Yeah.
parking lot, there's a garage and there's a wooden staircase.
Yeah.
And if you just walk up those
And then
stairs
go
and take
right,
a right,
it's-
it's right there. Yeah. You'll see it immediately.
Oh, they were probably gardening. Yeah. Yeah, they have tons of volunteers, and so there's that, there's the Broad Rock. I would say they produce a lot of stuff, but of course, we'd love to have you too, but they really got it together, and it would be so convenient. You could drop off your compost when you pay your taxes, or,
When you vote.
or, right,
Every 4 years.
right. I can connect you with the guy there. His name is Craig, but I always want to call him Peter because I think just Catholicism, like.
Well, I would be happy to, because I was thinking about how partnering with partnering with a school or partnering with a nonprofit, partnering with the church would be probably a better way to get this moving, because the town moves slow, and it is actually really hard to raise money, or get grants as a town.
Well, yeah, we don't, especially now, and our budget is like really lean because we're building a school, we have a lot of bills, and plus everything, healthcare, it's all crazy. But we can do this, we can raise money, I believe that I believe we could raise money for this without a problem, but I just need a plan, But I think that's super exciting. I want to give you my actually, if you guys.
What is the program at the landfill for composting?
The transfer
Is that
station,
private?
yeah, it is 4 bins, totes, picked up by Black Earth Compost. And they're a wonderful company. They service this area too. You can have them come to your house. They do bring their material to southern Cape Cod, so it's a lot of trucking with that material. But it's a wonderful option to have, especially at the transfer station. And community composting would just be adding more capacity, because also, to be honest, if I'm setting up, the model that I have, the idea that I have set up is really only going to serve maybe 60 families if we're really like going. So the idea of community composting, my idea at least of community composting is it's decentralized composting, so small sites throughout this town, so we could, at any community garden has a site, and the people at that, the housing area can all drop off there. People, members of the church or of the congregation can drop off at the church. So they're not huge facilities, especially if we're dealing with like getting under permitting and things like that. But they serve the people of the community, of the neighborhood.
And then could people get the material then for their gardens?
Ideally, yeah, if we're successful in making good compost. I mean, it would be used for the garden, probably primarily if it's at a garden, and then whatever's left of it can go to the people.
Perfect.
Although you would, I mean, if I understand this whole system. Sorry, I'm the only one. No, I was just going to say, as I understand the system, if these are gardens that are community gardens set up for people that probably aren't gardening at home, then keeping the compost on site totally makes sense. It's not like that these are people that are going to want to take it, right? You could sell it to outside people if there's extra. Yeah. It'd be a source of income. But,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it would primarily go to the people who are contributing the food scraps first, and then, or like, so the community gardeners or people who want it, if they're at a community garden. So Harvest Cycle in Providence is a community composter. It's a subscription service. So the people who subscribe donate food scraps all year round, and when they do their 1 to 2 times a year harvests of their composts or giveaways, they give it a certain amount, like 5 gallons per person, back to the people who contribute their waste. So
I would just caution any ideas of selling the compost back, because I think that would go into a whole other business, like at least for the beginning, right? But like giving it, like having people who are using the compost bin and then taking the compost onto that nearby, community garden makes sense. But distributing, I mean, like Earth Care Farm does it at like a humongous scale.
And yeah, I think there's restrictions on like testing too, for if you're selling it or if you have a certain amount. There's, for a small scale composting in the state, I think you can only have 25 cubic yards of material on site at once, which is really only like it's not that many bins. It's sizable, it's bigger than your backyard, and then if you go to distribute the compost or sell it, it would trigger some permitting. So we want to keep it under that.
Yeah, definitely. Keep it simple and free, for people. I think that makes sense.
I have a question, Charlotte. So a lot of this conversation circles back to like the positive things that can come out of composting, like all the benefits of that cycle. But I haven't heard anyone in these composting discussions talk about the fact that the state of Rhode Island several years ago passed a law that said that every municipality in Rhode Island had to divert, I think it's 50% of their waste. The last stats I saw, I don't know if it was 2024 or 2023, only 2 towns had done it for that year, Portsmouth and North Kingstown. SK, I think, was in the 30% range. But I know with the trash that comes out of my home, I compost, and I see how much weight is being pulled from the trash. That obviously varies depending on what types of foods a person eats, but like if you eat fruits and veggies, there's a lot of water weight going into your trash. And so why hasn't the town viewed, at the transfer station, I mean, this is why there is a rigid plastic bin, this is why there's a metal bin, this is why there's recycling and compost, because they're trying to send all of these separate things somewhere other than the Johnson landfill. Why hasn't the town, or has the town, viewed composting as a great way to comply with the state law that they are supposed to be complying with? And not just I think like the initial reaction is like, oh, that's like a feel-good community thing, but it's not. but like, that can all come with it, and it can be a way of achieving the mandate that we're supposed to be following.
There's also a law that schools have to divert their food waste as well.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the compost bin giveaway that we did a couple of years ago? So, I mean, I think that was probably one way that we tried to, sort of generate some interest in composting. Beyond that,
I should know in a few weeks if we're going to do that again. I applied for a grant for it, so, for both Narragansett and South Kingstown. So
I think like a refresher course wouldn't hurt either,
But is there a penalty for these towns for not, or is there like a grace period or number of years before they have to?
I don't think so. I don't know, but I do know that the better we do, the more they do share profits. Right now, I'm kind of dealing with it, but like resource recovery, when they do make money, which is not very often, they do share profits back with the town. And I think there is also a rebate that we get based on our recycling numbers, just the recycling though, not the other stuff. So there is incentive. We do get money back. Unfortunately, we also do get money for tipping garbage. So there's like an odd little, there's like a funny poll, like we do make money off of tipping fees. So, well, yeah, it's where it pays for the garbage. It pays for the transfer station. So there's a funny little poll that I'm learning in government where it's like balancing the money income. But we do know that South Kingstown wants to compost, which is probably one of the reasons why I was hired for the role, because I'm very passionate about composting.
So sorry, if you're a South Kingstown resident and you pay for trash pickup, that money, if there's a surplus in that pool, it goes somewhere other than trash pickup?
All trash pickup in South Kingstown, if you have trash pickup, it's private companies, so it's
Okay.
not municipal pickup.
But then the town pays tipping fees.
But all of those private haulers go to the transfer station, tip there as residential, and then that residential tipping amount is reported to resource recovery when it goes to resource recovery. And so they calculate our rate.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
And
I don't know if I'm fully-
that number comes back to the town of South Kingstown.
Yeah, don't quote me on this. I don't want to be saying the wrong
No,
thing
okay.
on YouTube.
That's fine. That's fine.
I don't totally know this. But basically, the better we do, in theory, we would get some more money back.
Right.
But it would probably go back into.
There are incentives in opposing directions. Yeah, got it.
So for the school, for the school required composting, it's a law, but there is no enforcement
Sure.
at
all.
And
Classic
there's no
problem.
money for it. Like, so Matunic has been composting for several years. Our PTO literally pays for it. Like, we're like, the school committee's not, the school budget is not paying for it. It's like essentially just private parents, and if you have PTO board members that are passionate about it, they push it through.
Gotcha.
I just want to say the reason that I'm really picky about everyone talking into the mics is because I watch a lot of these meetings, and if you don't talk into the mics, you cannot hear. And it's very frustrating. So that's why I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, not sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to point out, if everyone hasn't seen it, that Charlotte is going to be publishing an article every month in the South County Independent. And kudos to you.
Thank you. If anyone has suggestions for what I should talk about, I'm very open. This is my first foray into writing anything really at all that's being published.
Did we already, you and I, talk about the fun little game that Resource Recovery made, a little digital fund sorting game? That's like, it's just a cute little thing that Resource Recovery has on their website that you might want to check out.
It's Resource Recovery did it. We stole it. Oh, God, okay. Jim stole it.
Resource recovery is quasi-public, so you're not stealing it, you're just using it.
We listed it, yes.
Okay, I think we're set with that for now. Did you not want anything from us, Charlotte, on anything you're doing or? No? Okay.
I think through that conversation, I gave you the update about where I'm at with the community composting. I'm still kind of just figuring it out day by day, and I have to just price some things out and see if we can dig up some money somewhere. And I would love to be connected with other gardeners and people who want to volunteer their time, because I think we might need to just go out there and start pulling weeds to start this in motion.
Great.
Yeah.
And Charlotte, I sent you some, I can't remember if we had an exchange about it, Charlotte, but I sent you some feedback on the questionnaire survey.
I just have one quick announcement, since it's not on the agenda, but it was on a previous agenda, that we were going to meet with members of the Historic District Commission, which Gail and I did, and we're going to have another meeting soon-ish. So we will report back on at the next meeting on that, because we're not going to talk about it now. Next meeting is October 20th, unless we hear from Mark that we need to meet with the town council before then, in which case we'll need to do something else. Maybe three of us could volunteer to put together a draft presentation to the council so that we could bring something to the next meeting. I would want to do that.
Question. The town council meets the first and third?
Second and fourth.
Oh, second and fourth?
I mean, it's always getting messed up because of holidays, but next Monday is when we meet, and then it'll be 2 weeks after that.
Okay, so typically second and fourth Monday. Okay, because the next Conservation Commission meeting is October 7th, I believe, if that is a Tuesday. And your next meeting is when?
October 20.
October 20th. So would that town council meeting fall after that in October?
Yes.
Yeah, right, right.
I'm not sure what our boards and commissions schedule. I know that we're behind in boards and commissions. Like, we don't have enough, we're constantly getting behind because there's so many, and so combining boards and commissions would be a really good thing if they're related, of course.
You mean those are the meetings that the town council just interfaces with each board throughout the year?
Well, it's usually like a 30-minute work session beforehand, but I feel like we're gonna be changing some of the schedules because we're not getting out of the meeting till like midnight. And it's too long, so there's gonna be some discussion of how we can work better. Because the town is big. So the 22nd, then in October, it would be the 6th, which is, there's Indigenous People Day, but that's the 13th. So it should be the 6th and the 20th in October.
Doesn't it make sense for, I'm just thinking, doesn't it make sense for us to go through the proposal to with the committee structures and all that before we go in front of the town council?
It does, so unless we're locked into an October date, because that's what
Gotcha.
we've been told, that that's our month, which we have. So, I mean, I just asked Mark if we could do it later, November, December, January. That would be better, because we've got stuff in flux.
But you could
So-
still go in front of the town
And just
council
say
and
this
just
is where
give your
we are.
update.
Yes.
And you could sort of tease that one of the things the SUSCOM
Right.
is looking into
Right.
is that merger. But then, yeah, once we do our email thing, and I think I just think there's a benefit to having one more Concom and SUSCOM meeting before we all go in front of the town council. So that would land at the end of October or November.
Yeah.
But
Do you want any of us at your meeting on the 7th?
I don't think it's necessary, but I'm going to email Janine and Elizabeth, and I think Kate Shorrock, who's a member of the Concom, and myself. Those will be the 2 and 2 that can flesh out that charter.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so I think we have all of our ducks in whatever row we can manage. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Yes.
All in favor? Aye. All right, see you next month.